The vow that shook the world still echoed across Hastinapura, the vow of MAHABHARATA, now called Bhishma. His renunciation brought peace to the kingdom, but sorrow to every heart that witnessed it. King Shantanu, proud yet broken, saw his lineage secured through sacrifice, not joy. Satyavati, once a fisherwoman, now the queen of Hastinapura, carried a secret heavy as fate itself. Before Shantanu, before the palace, she had loved a sage, and from that love a son was born. That son was Vyasa, born of divine purpose, abandoned to the forest, yet destined to shape dynasties. Years passed. Bhishma ruled the court with wisdom, never as king, but as the protector of Hastinapura. Under his command, the kingdom prospered, its borders secure, its people proud. But time, the silent ruler, began to take what even vows could not stop: age. King Shantanu's body grew frail, his breath shallow, and the kingdom prepared for sorrow. On his final day, Shantanu blessed Bhishma, not as a son, but as the very soul of the Kuru throne. And when the king passed, the river Ganga wept once more for her son, the immortal bound by mortal duty. The throne now belonged to Satyavati's sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Chitrangada, the elder, was brave, fierce, and hungry for battle. Vichitravirya, gentle and quiet, learned from Bhishma the path of restraint and wisdom. Bhishma became father, teacher, and protector, his life's vow shaping generations. When Chitrangada ascended the throne, the drums of war soon echoed across the plains. He sought glory, not peace, and challenged the Gandharvas, celestial warriors of the heavens. The war raged for days, earth shaking beneath mortal and celestial fury. And when the dust settled, Chitrangada lay slain, his name remembered in silence. Satyavati's heart shattered, one son gone and another too young to rule. Once again, Bhishma stood before the throne, not as king, but as guardian of destiny. He placed Vichitravirya upon the throne and vowed to guide him till his last breath. But Vichitravirya's heart was gentle. He sought beauty, not conquest. Satyavati urged Bhishma to find brides for the young king, to secure the Kuru bloodline. Far away in Kashi, 3 princesses, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, awaited their destiny. Bhishma rode forth in a chariot, alone, like thunder across the plains. He entered Kashi's court, where kings had gathered to compete for the princesses' hands. Bhishma announced, "For my brother, the daughters of Kashi shall wed the Kuru heir." Before any could react, he lifted the princesses into his chariot, swift as divine wind. The kings pursued, but none could match Bhishma, the son of Ganga, warrior of gods. At Hastinapura, the princesses were received with royal honor, but Amba, the eldest, bowed her head and spoke. Her heart already belonged to another. She loved King Salva, and her heart was not hers to give again. Bhishma, bound by Dharma, released her, granting her freedom to return to her love. But Salva, humiliated by Bhishma's victory, rejected her. Torn between pride and love, heartbroken and betrayed, Amba returned to Hastinapura, but Bhishma could not take her back. Anger replaced sorrow. She vowed vengeance on Bhishma, the man who ruined her life. She left the palace, vanishing into the forests, her heart burning with a curse yet unspoken. And thus began the curse that would one day bring the might of Bhishma to its knees. After Amba's departure, peace seemed to return to Hastinapura, but it was the calm before destiny's storm. Vichitravirya, though king, was young and untested, his mind more drawn to pleasure than rule. His queens, Ambika and Ambalika, were graceful, dutiful, and bound by royal silence. Bhishma watched from afar, proud of his duty, but burdened by the chain of fate his vow had forged. Years passed like whispers. The young king fell ill, his strength fading under the shadow of time. The palace echoed with prayers, but destiny does not bend to tears. When the dawn came, it carried no hope. Vichitravirya was gone, leaving the Kuru throne empty once again. Satyavati's heart trembled. Her sons were gone, her lineage threatened, and the kingdom stood without an heir. She turned to Bhishma, the eternal guardian, and pleaded for the future of the dynasty. But Bhishma's vow was his life. He could not break it, not even for the survival of Hastinapura. Desperate, Satyavati revealed her long-kept secret, the son she bore before marriage, the sage born of Parashara. That son was Vyasa, the seer of truth, the knower of all worlds. She sent word to the forest, and the sage returned carrying the scent of earth and the silence of mountains. When Vyasa entered Hastinapura, the air itself seemed to bow, as if destiny had walked into stone halls. Satyavati told him of her sorrow, the empty throne, the lost sons, and the kingdom's dying bloodline. Vyasa listened in silence, for he knew even before she spoke that this was the call of fate. He agreed, for the sake of Dharma, for the sake of the Kurus, to father heirs through Niyoga. Satyavati, though torn by shame and hope, obeyed the call of duty once more. Ambika, the elder queen, entered the ritual chamber veiled and trembling. When she beheld Vyasa's ascetic form, wild hair and glowing eyes, fear filled her heart. She closed her eyes in terror, and thus her son would be born blind. Next came Ambalika, calmer yet trembling as she stepped into destiny. When she saw Vyasa, her face turned pale with fear, and her child would bear that mark forever. Thus were born Dhritarashtra, blind from birth, and Pandu, pale yet strong. But Satyavati, unsatisfied, begged Vyasa for one more, one pure and wise. The maid of the queen stepped forward, humble yet brave, and she too bore Vyasa's blessing. From her womb came Vidura, wise, calm, and pure of soul. Thus the three sons were born, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura, the seeds of destiny. Bhishma accepted them as princes of Hastinapura, though each bore the mark of fate. Dhritarashtra grew strong as iron, but his eyes saw nothing. Pandu learned the way of kings, patient, disciplined, and wise. Vidura, though born of a maid, was revered for his wisdom beyond his years. The court of Hastinapura once again rang with life, the Kurus reborn. Yet beneath that joy, destiny smiled, for it knew the seeds of war had already been sown. As years passed, the princes grew, each molded by Bhishma's hand and fate's unseen fire. Dhritarashtra, blind yet strong, became the symbol of strength without sight. Pandu's arrow never missed. His body moved like wind and his mind like water. Vidura advised them both, his wisdom like the stillness of a river before a storm. Bhishma watched them grow, and in his heart, pride mixed with dread. For destiny had begun to move again, and this time even Bhishma could not stop its course. Under Bhishma's protection, the three princes, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura, grew up in the halls of Hastinapura. Dhritarashtra, though blind, possessed immense strength and an indomitable spirit. Pandu, fair and skilled, mastered the art of archery and strategy. Vidura, born of humble origins, shone with wisdom that surpassed them all. Bhishma ensured that all three received the finest education from sages and warriors. Years passed and the princes grew into strong men, each carrying his own destiny. But the throne of Hastinapura still lacked a king. The court turned to Bhishma once more. Though elder, Dhritarashtra's blindness made him ineligible for the crown. Thus Pandu, noble and capable, was crowned the new king of Hastinapura. The people rejoiced. The Kuru dynasty had a king once more. Bhishma then sought brides for both his nephews. For Dhritarashtra, he chose Princess Gandhari of Gandhara, known for her devotion and virtue. Upon learning her husband-to-be was blind, Gandhari bound her own eyes forever, to share his darkness. The world watched in awe at her sacrifice, a symbol of love and destiny. For Pandu, Bhishma found Kunti, the adopted daughter of King Kunti Bhoja, noble and pure-hearted. Later, Pandu also wed Madri, the princess of Madra, known for her grace and beauty. With two queens by his side, Pandu ruled with fairness and valor. The kingdom flourished and peace returned to Hastinapura. But fate never sleeps. Destiny had other plans for King Pandu. During a royal hunt in the forest, Pandu's arrow struck a sage disguised as a deer. As the sage lay dying, he cursed Pandu that if he ever touched his wives, he would die. The curse shattered Pandu's soul. He renounced the throne and left for the Himalayas. He lived as an ascetic, seeking peace far from worldly desires. In his absence, Dhritarashtra became king, guided by Vidura and Bhishma. Yet his blindness was not just of the eyes, but of love for his sons. Meanwhile, in the mountains, Pandu and his queens longed for children. Kunti revealed a secret, a divine mantra gifted by sage Durvasa in her youth. Through that mantra, she could summon gods themselves to bless her with children. With Pandu's consent, she invoked the gods, and soon the mountains would echo with destiny's cry. From the sun, god Surya was born Karna, radiant, golden, yet destined for sorrow. But fear consumed her. Kunti placed her newborn in a basket and set him afloat upon the river. The river carried Karna toward his fate, into the hands of a humble charioteer. Years later, the gods would again answer Kunti's call, and the sons of Pandu would be born. But that, my friends, belongs to another tale, the birth of the Pandavas. Thus, the wheel of destiny turned again, vows, curses, and divine births shaping the fate of Bharata.